Should you be following and even caring about design trends within graphic design? We're going to look at graphic design trends, how important they are, or if they're important at all, and then some insight into some interesting graphic design trends in 2019. So, is it worth keeping up to date with graphic design trends, or is it entirely overrated? As human beings, we want to appear to be in the know rather than behind in the times, either positively or negatively speaking. Humans are very social animals, and trend following appears to be most radically in our youth and our early adulthood. This is when we're most self-conscious about our social standing with our peers and our groups. So we're drawn to new things that provide a feeling of change and also progression. Following trends can bring people together for discussion, activities, and socializing in general. As an example, a huge graphic design trend in 2019 has been duotone, which can be seen across magazine and editorial designs, advertising campaigns, UI and UX designs respectively. So that's all well and good, but how do trends fit into the graphic design world, and is it even important to your graphic design career? Trends in graphic design help allow the industry to remain in a forward progression, as well as also to maintain a visual interest. But this isn't just for consumers and clients, it's also for the designers as well. There are some very good instances to keep in mind graphic design trends for your career, but there are also some instances where I would suggest it's a very bad decision to use or incorporate graphic design trends in your projects. So we're now going to look at those times where you should be using them and when you probably should just drop them. So one of the first instances where a graphic design trend can really come into play in a positive addition is when you're on social media as a graphic designer. Now this can be simply for fun or when you're promoting yourself on social media. It is a great way to establish yourself as a competent designer by creating artwork that falls in line with the graphic design trend. In this point, I'm not referring to graphic design client work that you are working on, but more geared towards day-to-day posts on social media on your graphic design business accounts. So for example, you could have a selfie or a picture of your workstation with a duotone overlay. Furthering your ability to connect with the graphic design trends, you could even use relevant hashtags. So for example, hashtag duotone. Social media is a way to come together as a community, share ideas, and express yourself. Utilizing design trends is a great way to become part of a larger group and firmly place yourself as an established content creator and graphic designer. So that's using graphic design trends more or less for fun, but let's get serious and dive down to brass tacks and head into the business side of things. As the internet and social media become more and more accessible, as well as an integrated part of human society, people have become more aware of design trends, and more often than not, your clients have done too. So your client might want to have a design solution that is completely in line with trends if they are aware, but they also might want something traditional or vintage, or they might just want to be going for something completely against the grain and away from current trends. But one of your jobs as a graphic designer is to establish the style of a design within the context of your client's industry, brand, and their brief. Simply throwing some design trends at a project and hoping it works out for the best is far from practical and is not in the slightest bit professional. Trends are a tool, and you wouldn't use a spanner to tighten up a screw for a good example. You need to really have a strong grasp on the function of a design, and then you can begin to apply the design style from thereafter. So the first area where you really want to refrain from using graphic design trends is for logo designing. quality logo design is timeless, or at the very least, you should be trying to lengthen the lifespan of a logo design as long as possible. So with that in mind, slapping a graphic design trend onto a logo design is probably one of the worst ideas that you can come up with. Sure, it might look neat and pretty cool now, and it might even look pretty neat and cool in 10 years, but it's probably going to look horribly dated as well. Your client is not going to want to have to rebrand their design or the logo every other year. That's going to cost them money, and it's also damaging to the brand identity because if it's constantly changing, it's not going to stick in the mind of the consumer. Think about the Nike swoosh. That logo mark is imprinted in the minds of so many people globally speaking, and it is near enough timeless. However, also right now, with the introduction of smartphone technology, many companies are simplifying their logos down to a single logo mark, purely for mobile devices. So when designing a logo, do think about this and do keep it in mind. So, still keeping within the subject of branding, it is a good idea to note that an extension of a brand can be used in line with a graphic design trend. However, the brand itself should still remain firm in the aesthetics of the art style. One recent trend to be incorporated into branding has been custom illustrations or custom icons. Now, using illustrations on, say, an advertising campaign or on a brand's website design, you kind of get to see their personalities represented in a design. And after all, modern consumers in today's age don't want to buy a product or a service from a nameless corporation. Today's consumers want to build a real connection with their favorite brands, and custom illustrations is a really neat way to be doing this. I'm sure you've seen the mid-century art style of illustrations in some of your favourite websites over the last year or so. One that springs to mind for me is Freepik, and they've heavily used this on their websites and their promotional design work. But yeah, that's not their brand identity, and it is important to distinguish between the two. Another heavy hitter so far in 2019, and also going back in 2018, has been isometric design. Now again, many websites have been using this on their designs, and I feel the artwork for a website is easier to interchange over time than an entire brand. It's also more widely accepted to be doing. But yeah, the website should still incorporate the brand identity, so things like the color palette, the typeface choice, the layout, and all of these things should remain in line with the brand itself. But you can experiment with the design trends in certain areas of the website, and this is where knowing the function of a design comes into play. What you really need to take away from today's video is that you should always keep in mind who you're designing something for. It's for a client and it's not for yourself, guys. The best design meets a client's needs and leaves the designer's ego way out of the equation. At the very start of the project, take on board the brief and everything it demonstrates to you, and keep in mind the function of your design, and then you can contemplate whether or not a design trend can be used in some way or another, or even if it should be. Design will continue to evolve and trends will come and go, but constantly honing your ability to prove great work based on exactly what specific clients need and require is probably one of the most valuable things that you can have in your toolbox as a graphic designer. So there is today's video on design trends and if they're important or not. What are your views on graphic design trends, and what trends are you really liking at the moment in 2019? If you want to keep boosting your skills and your awareness as a graphic designer, make sure to subscribe to my channel for weekly graphic design content. And of course, until next time, design your future today. Peace.